Hello and welcome to the main news on Millennium TV. Remember that we are live on our Facebook page, Millennium TV Zambia. You can also watch the news on our YouTube channel. Just search for Millennium TV Zambia. My name is Ruben Mwanza with the news. The headlines. The South African High Court holds Edgar Lungu's burial. British government opposes the constitutional amendment process. Government has reaffirmed its commitment to inclusive policy formulation. And in international news, Ghana's parliament approves 2.8 billion debt restructuring deal. And in sports news, 2025 ABSA Marathon launched. With the details, my name is Ruben Mwanza. Sorry about that. Burial for late former President Edgar Lungu could not proceed today as initially scheduled. This is because the South African High Court suspended it and has since given the Attorney General up to the 3rd of July to submit an application on whether the body of President Lungu should be repatriated, after which the family will on the 4th of July respond to the application. The matter will only be heard on the 18th of July, 2025. But Mr. Kabesha says he will not wait until that time frame to file in the application. Mr. Kabesha says he will expedite the process in order for the decision to be made on time so that the remains of the president are repatriated to Zambia. Mr. Kabesha says he is following the law on how a former head of state is supposed to be buried. He says when one becomes a president, he or she ceases to be a private person, but rather a state asset.
Now, the application I've made in the court, in the High Court in Pretoria, it has two limbs. The first one, because the burial should have been today, President Lungu was to be buried in South Africa today at 10 hours. And so yesterday I filed an application, we call it an ex parte application, for a stay, to suspend, not to stop, to suspend the burial of President Lungu today until there will be a second phase. The second phase is for me to apply to court that the remains of our President Lungu be repatriated to Zambia. And so the first stage of staying, suspending the application, was held today at 8 hours. And so the court has allowed that we don't bury today. Okay. The court at least has allowed that we don't bury today.
But President Lungu's family representative, Bizulu, says the truth will be revealed in court even about the head of state who was refused to come to Zambia to act as a mediator.
Perhaps it's the same obsession that they had about the body of Christ. And those that fabricated the story to say, perhaps it's not reason, they've stolen his body. Today a strange question was asked by the judge. And the question was, suppose the current president wants to see the body. The question was unprovoked. And we have made it clear in the order that only the family will have access to the body. The state made an application before the court that burial should not continue. We have not opposed that. We have said, all right, we will not bury. But the condition is that no one will have access to the body. We should tell our story, the story that we just told, that these are the events that have led us to where we are. Such that even when we're having negotiations, the team that was sent to negotiate for and on behalf of the government, every time we came to a conclusion, when they consulted President Hakainde Hichilema, the conditions changed. For example, It was made abundantly clear that the wish of President Edgar Chagwa Lungu was that he should not be anywhere near his body. That was agreed. When they gave us a program, even after having stated that when the body reaches Lusaka, the body will be received by the family, he'll be given the necessary guard of honor and taken to Chifuema. What came back after the consultation is that the body will go to Mulungushi Conference Center, the family will be received by President Hakainde Hichilema, and President Hakainde Hichilema will proceed to view the body and lay a wreath.
British High Commissioner to Zambia, Rebecca Tazion, says there is no need to rush the constitutional amendment process. The High Commissioner says every constitutional reform process should be based on consultation and consensus. Speaking during opening of Pembele Secondary School in Chirundu, a UK-funded school through promoting equality in African schools, Ms. Tazion says that for the Constitution needs to have the views of the people. She noted that more time needs to be given for meaningful consultation before Bill 7 goes to Parliament.
So we strongly believe that every constitutional reform process should be based on consultation and consensus. In order for the Constitution to be for the people, it needs to be owned by the people and it needs to represent their views. So as a partner and a friend of the Zambian government and the Zambian people, we hope that more time will be given for meaningful consultation before a bill goes to Parliament. We know that that's what civil society organisations have been calling for, and I'm also very aware that with an extended period of mourning recently, that hasn't allowed for the time needed for the meaningful consultation that the country wants to see.
The government has reaffirmed its commitment to inclusive policy formulation and implementation that encompasses the refugees in the country. Speaking during the commemoration of World Refugee Day under the theme Standing in Solidarity with Refugees, Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security Jack Mwimbu has further indicated that the government has continued to enact legislation to protect refugees in the country. He says that Zambia shall remain a haven for any refugees running away from conflict and persecution and called on enhanced support from cooperating partners. And the Commission of Refugees in Zambia, Tovin Keneneka, says that the Commission has continued to implement policies to improve the welfare of refugees in the country. Meanwhile, Clotrida Mutabatuka and Daffy Scholar refugees from Rwanda have appealed to the government to address the challenges faced by refugee students, especially where employment is concerned.
The government under the Ministry of Home Affairs and Internal Security has reaffirmed its commitment to inclusive policy formulation and implementation that encompasses the refugees in the country. Speaking when officiating at the commemoration of the World Refugee Day under the theme, Standing in Solidarity with Refugees, Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security Honorable Jack Mwimbu has indicated that the government has continued to enact legislation to protect refugees in the country. Honorable Mwimbu further says the government is also undertaking important legal reforms to harmonize laws affecting refugees in order to create a more enabling and right-based protection environment.
The government of the Republic of Zambia, under the leadership of Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, has taken a bold and progressive steps to institutionalize refugee protection and inclusion. Efforts that reflect both our humanitarian values and the national development priorities. Through the comprehensive refugee response framework, refugee protection has been meaningfully embedded within our national development agenda.
Speaking at the same event, United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, UNHRC representatives Ms. Pritalo, says the world in general has continued to see unprecedented numbers of people being displaced due to conflict, persecution, and climate change.
Today we gather together to reaffirm our unwavering support and solidarity with refugees. And today we send a clear message. We see you, you are not forgotten, you are not alone. We are here together to show that we care, that we will not walk away.
And the Commissioner of Refugees in Zambia, Toven Kaneneka, had this to say.
As we observe this day, we stand in solemn reflection while embracing hopeful and anticipation, a moment to recognize the immense hardships refugees endure and to celebrate their resilience, strength, and invaluable contribution to our shared humanity.
Meanwhile, a refugee from Rwanda and Daffy scholar Clotrida Mutabatuka has appealed to the government to consider removing permit barriers for refugees, graduates, and students who have completed their education in Zambia. Liumbo Joshua, reporting for Millennium TV in Lusaka.
The Ministry of Education has implemented a project in 95 districts across the 10 provinces to keep girls in school. The project will reach out to all 116 districts by 2026. Keeping the Girls in School project coordinator Willie Caputo disclosed that the project implementation unit have been assigned to the 30 districts to carry out this exercise in conjunction with respective district education board secretaries' debs. Mr. Caputo says the team will be conducting a community verification of eligible girls from households that are enrolled in social cash transfer. Mr. Caputo says the community verification exercise is scheduled to take place between June 23rd and July 6th, 2025. And the Permanent Secretary in charge of administration in the Ministry of Education, Noriana Muneku, has called on household members enrolled in the social cash transfer to cooperate and provide the necessary information that will be requested by the project staff. The Electoral Commission of Zambia says the Lumezi parliamentary by-election will proceed as scheduled on Thursday, 26th of June 2025. ECZ has reprinted ballot papers for the Lumezi parliamentary by-election due to an accidental omission of a candidate's surname. According to ECZ Chief Electoral Officer Brown Kasaro, the reprinting exercise aims to facilitate a free and fair election, ensuring compliance with Sections 51 and 52 of the Electoral Process Act number 35 of 2016 and Regulation 27, subsection 2 of the Electoral Process Regulations 2016. Mr. Kasaro says the Commission took immediate remedial steps in line with established legal provisions to reprint the ballot papers. He says the reprinted ballot papers arrived in the country today at 14:30 hours. Minister of Information and Media, Cornelius Mwitwa, has officially launched the Secretariat of the Media Self-Regulation Council of Zambia. Mr. Mwitwa highlighted that the operationalization of the Secretariat is not just a bureaucratic step, but a heartbeat of the Council's commitment to strengthening media professionalism, enhancing public trust, and promoting responsible journalism across the media space. He noted that MSCZ Zambia is tailored to steadily move towards a more democratic and participatory media landscape, adding that an empowered and self-regulated media is essential to the health of democracy, governance systems, and the development agenda. He emphasized that the launch of this secretariat today demonstrates that the media itself is rising to the challenge by organizing, innovating, and upholding itself to higher standards.
To officiate at this milestone event, the official launch. It is my honor and privilege to officiate at this milestone event, the official launch of the Secretariat for the Media Self-Regulation Council of Zambia. I wish to commend the Council on this achievement and a historic step that it has taken in its institutional development. Today marks a turning point in the journey towards achieving an accountable media self-regulation mechanism in Zambia. The operationalization of this secretariat is not just a bureaucratic step, but a heartbeat of the Council's commitment to strengthen media professionalism, enhancing public trust, and promoting responsible journalism across the country. The establishment of the Media Self-Regulation Council of Zambia Secretariat is tailored at steadily moving towards a more democratic and participatory media landscape in the country. We recognize that an empowered and self-regulating media sector is essential to the health of our democracy, good governance systems, and the national development agenda.
The Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development has partnered with JICA in improving the waste management at the Lusaka Integrated Solid Waste Management Company. The Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development Permanent Secretary Nicholas Piri says this has been done with the sole purpose of dedicating all its efforts and activities to bring about efficiency in the entire value chain of solid waste management. Mr. Piri noted that the government also put in place certain measures to ensure that the issues of solid waste management is addressed. He asserted that the program promulgates a systematic and organized way for how each stakeholder to participate and contribute to making Zambia clean, green, and healthy.
Through the civic leadership. So the failure and inefficiencies that we are currently witnessing in the value chain of solid waste management is a reflection of our own failure as local government, as local government systems, and we must address it as such. In view of that, government took a deliberate decision to put in place interventions that would result into sustainable solid waste management in the country, starting with Lusaka. And the first step was working together with JICA. We established a company called the Lusaka Integrated Solid Waste Management Company. This company was created with the sole purpose of dedicating all its efforts and activities to bring about efficiency in the entire value chain of solid waste management.
The Ministry of Community Development and Social Services, Principal Social Welfare Officer Nosiku Mulambia, says government's commitment to supporting persons with albinism. Speaking during the commemoration of International Albinism Awareness Day today, he says the challenges the people living with albinism need to be addressed. And a representative of Zambia Agency for Persons with Disabilities, Elivas Nyirenda, says the organization is working closely with the Ministry of Health to improve access to medical services and protect persons with albinism from discrimination and violence.
The Ministry of Community Development and Social Services, Principal Social Welfare Officer Nosiku Mulambia, has reaffirmed its commitment to supporting persons with albinism during the commemoration of International Albinism Awareness Day, held under the theme, Demanding Our Rights, Protect Our Skin, and Preserve Our Lives. Speaking at the event, the ministry's representative Nsuku Mlambia highlights the ongoing challenges faced by persons with albinism, including discrimination and stigma and lack of access to education and health care.
I remember growing up, when we see someone with albinism, we were told to spit. We were told, no, you spit so that you don't have a child with who is an albinism.
The representative of Zambia Agency for Persons with Disabilities, ZAPIT, Elivas Nyorenda, says her agency is working closely with the Ministry of Health to improve access to medical services and to protect persons with albinism from discrimination and violence. She notes that our skin may be different, but our rights are equal. We must all stand up to harmful myths and superstitions.
The International Albinism Awareness Day aims to raise global awareness about albinism, promote the rights and well-being of persons with albinism, and challenges the stereotypes and discrimination they face.
And the Performance Management Group founder, Dr. Janet Mwansa, has acknowledged government's efforts in enacting laws and promoting inclusive programs that create a supportive environment for persons with albinism. The organization has called on communities and government bodies to leverage PMG's initiatives aimed at improving livelihoods and promoting self-reliance.
We acknowledge the efforts of the government input in placing laws aimed at protecting the rights of persons with albinism. We also appreciate the inclusive empowerment and programs in the communities which has created a conducive environment for us to partner and participate in the commemoration of this great day.
Meanwhile, Zambia Police, through the Victim Support Unit, Madam Brenda Chimbe, has called for the introduction of special protection measures for persons with albinism and stiffer penalties for crimes committed against them.
Reports are always being received. You hear the police, Mr. Ray Amonga, the spokesperson, obviously confirming. No, there is this report, such a crime was committed, it was perpetrated on somebody that is living with albinism.
In light of the World Representative, Mr. Tutule Kafwimbi has called on all citizens to take part in the fight against discrimination and inequality faced by persons with albinism, stating that albinism is not just a personal issue but a national concern. He says his organization dedicates to working with government and other stakeholders to build a society that values and includes everyone regardless of skin condition. Mr. Kafwimbi has highlighted the serious health risks faced by persons with albinism, especially skin cancer caused by overexposure to the sun, calling it the #1 enemy of persons with albinism.
Let us continue to work together to demand our rights and protect our lives. We look forward to contributing our partnership and collaboration with stakeholders to promote equality and social justice for all.
Mononoke Cynthia reporting for Millennium TV in Lusaka.
The Professional Teachers Union of Zambia Protu's General Secretary, Kangwa Msenge, has expressed concern over the resistance by some District Education Board secretaries, DEBs, to report for work in the districts where they have been transferred. Dr. Msenge, says work has stalled in the said districts, which he says has also affected operations. Dr. Msenge says it is unfortunate that some DEBs refuse transfers despite being paid. He has therefore called on the Teaching Council of Zambia to take charge of the matter so that district operations can resume and ensure that those who have been transferred resume their new positions.
It has come to our attention that some district education board secretaries who were transferred to go and head other districts from their usual stations have refused. This has given quite a lot of challenges in terms of work. In short, work has stalled. We appeal to the Teaching Service Commission and the Ministry of Education to ensure that those who have been transferred to stations, to the new stations, they should report. If not so, we are now thinking that the authority of the Commission is being put to test, which has a ripple effect to the learning programs. You must be aware that we have a new curriculum in place, which needs to be given a chance to prove itself, with encouraging the teachers on how to deal with that. So the absence of these district educational officers has really devastated the public service work in those districts. That is our appeal as professional teachers in Zambia.
Zesco Limited has announced that residential customers will receive 5 hours of power supply daily instead of 7 hours following the loss of 150 megawatts in the national grid. Zesco Corporate Affairs Manager Rose Sibisi says the loss of 150 megawatts is as a result of an emergency shutdown of a generator by Mamba Energy Limited. Ms. Sibisi says the loss of 150 megawatts of power further constrains its supply capacity, leading into stage 10 of load management. She has, however, noted that there will be no change to the current supply schedule for farmers, industrial customers, and critical loads such as hospitals, water treatment facilities, and security installations.
This morning, Zesco has issued a customer notice notifying our customers that we have moved from stage 9 to stage 10 due to an unplanned outage that has resulted in us losing 150 megawatts of power. I will move on to Engineer Boniface Siasipa, who is the Senior Manager for Lusaka Distribution Control Center and oversees the distribution of all the electricity supply that is given across the country. From the distribution perspective, Engineer Boniface Siasipa, obviously you and I, a month or so ago, went around and informed our customers that we were comfortable and we were now stable and giving our customers 7 hours of power, and we reintroduced the power supply schedules. But this development, well, how does now this affect the 7 hours of electricity supply to our customers and the trajectory on which we were?
Zanamaka, in partnership with the Bank of Zambia, has held a financial literacy and capacity building training on new currency, which was targeting the informal economy operators. Speaking during the event, Zanamaka President Mupila Kameya says the training was meant to educate the marketeers about the new currency that was introduced by the bank and also help them identify counterfeit notes in an instance where they come across them. Meanwhile, Bank of Zambia Acting Assistant Manager Catherine Chitanda explained the different banknotes, including issues to do with security.
On a journey to empower our community in markets, rather marketeers, traders, small-scale farmers that bring produce to our market, the SMEs who actually continuously play a pivotal role in our economy. The importance of this initiative, ladies and gentlemen, cannot be overstated. We are not only introducing the new currency, we are also laying a foundation for our financially knowledgeable and resilient community, particularly for those operating within the informal economy. This workshop aims to train dedicated individuals as trainers of trainers, ensuring that the knowledge gained here will ripple through the communities we are serving or where we're coming from. The markets, the bus stations, in our cooperatives, Together, we can cultivate an environment where financial literacy is not merely a concept, but it should be a way of life.
When you took the background, like I mentioned, so in this case, not for the 10 watch and 20 watch are fine. Now we wanna, I'm sure some of you actually have a 10 watcher and a 20 watcher, and if you look at the booklet that was shared to you, now I started packets. Mwana capturing a security threat. We are 10 watch and 20 watch. So, security threat, tomorrow we can up and down on the 10 watch and 20 watch.
In international news, lawmakers in Ghana have approved a $2.8 billion debt restructuring deal in an effort to ease the country's worst economic crisis in decades. The West African nation signed a memorandum of understanding with 25 creditor nations, including China and France, in January after defaulting on most of its external debt at the end of 2022. The restructuring is aimed at reducing Ghana's debt to GDP ratio to 55% by 2026. The government is also planning to lower its debt service to revenue ratio to below 18% from 2028. This move is expected to ease financial pressure and support economic growth.
Lawmakers in Ghana have approved a $2.8 billion debt restructuring deal in an effort to ease the country's worst economic crisis in decades. The West African nation signed a memorandum of understanding with 25 creditor nations in January after defaulting on most of its external debt at the end of 2022. The restructuring is aimed at reducing Ghana's debt to GDP ratio to 55% by 2026. The government is also planning to lower its debt service to revenue ratio to below 18% within 3 years. A major producer of both cocoa and gold, Ghana defaulted on most of its $30 billion in international debt under pressure from the COVID-19 pandemic, the war in Ukraine, and rising interest rates.
In sports news, ABSA Chief Executive Officer Mizinga Melu has launched the 2025 ABSA Marathon. This is its 7th edition. The marathon is scheduled to take place on December 6th and is expected to attract 7,000 runners from Zambia and beyond. He says this year's marathon is aimed at supporting menstrual poverty with ABSA matching contributions made by participants and donors. And Ministry of Youth, Sport and Arts Permanent Secretary Kangwa Chileshe reaffirmed government's commitment to such activities that promote the health of Zambians. On that note, we end the news, but before we go, let's take a look at the headlines once again. The South African High Court holds Edgar Lungu's burial. The British government opposes the constitutional amendment process. Government has reaffirmed its commitment to inclusive policy formulation. While in international news, Ghana's parliament approves $2.8 billion debt restructuring deal. And finally, in sports news, ABSA 2025 Marathon launched. And that's it for the news this time around. Thank you so much. My name is Ruben Mwanza. Pleasant viewing.